Hey folks, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. So it has been quite a minute since I made a video for YouTube. So I thought since it's the end of the year here, I'd pop on the camera and share my thoughts and do something a little bit different from the kind of boring, standard New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, year in review kind of stuff here. And instead, I would have a very real, heartfelt, genuine, on my mind conversation with you about my thoughts about 2025 and quite frankly, what we're looking at over the next 10 years and why I think it's really important to be talking about this and how to prepare for the next 10 years. So if you're interested in looking at how to kind of keep yourself sane and not lose your shit while the world around us goes absolutely weird and mental and crazy as it's about to do over the next 10 years, then please join me for this conversation and let's look down the line at how we can effectively stay centered, stay happy, stay healthy, stay whole, stay connected while things get weirder and weirder. Let's talk about it. And just real quick, I want to share with you guys just some things so that you may hear it in my voice a little bit. I had a cold for about 3 weeks. Okay, so my December basically involved snot and coughing for 3 weeks. So I'm still recovering from that a little bit. So you may hear my voice, a bit of windedness, a bit of hoarseness, and I may cough a little bit in the video here. Bear with me. I'll do my best to try to not be aesthetically offensive here, but hang in there with me while my voice isn't quite back to perfect and normal again. Okay, with that being said, I want to just kind of keep it real with you guys here. My head has been in a bit of I wouldn't say a dark place, but more looking at the practicals of where we're at in the world and what's going on here, and looking at 2025 and what's kind of perhaps coming down the pike there, and also just looking quite frankly at the next 10 years. So I want to make this video as a contrast to, again, kind of your normal Happy New Year's cliche kind of thing. And sure, there's a little bit of heaviness in my tone right now. I'm sure you're catching that because I think we're just kind of in a heavy place in the world. And I would rather lead from honesty with you guys and give you my genuine thoughts, my genuine take on this, and have a real conversation with you rather than just kind of like gloss it over and pretend like things aren't heavy and weird and strange and about to get weirder. So part of the reason I'm doing the work that I do, part of the reason I'm interested in psychedelic therapy, part of the reason I'm interested in consciousness and spirituality and healing and putting all this stuff together for you guys is because I really want to serve the healing and the awakening of humanity as a whole to the best of my ability in the most practical way that I can. Okay? I deeply care about our future. I deeply care about human beings and our well-being. And quite frankly, I deeply care about and have a huge passion for the potential that I've glimpsed in my spiritual practices and in my psychedelic experiences and mystical experiences. I have a huge passion for the potential that I know human beings actually carry. And to see so many of us suffering so much and so not tapped into the goods that we carry inside of ourselves, to me is kind of strange and tragic. And so all of this is part of what drives the work that I do. So in a lot of ways, I have divorced myself from the New Age community in certain respects, but in a lot of ways, I'm at my heart very much kind of aligned with a lot of the New Age concepts of helping humanity to awaken and blossom and grow and spiritually awaken and actualize ourselves, right? So that's why I do what I do in a big way. So part of that, of course, is deeply optimistic, deeply connected to the profound sense of resource and beauty and wisdom and potential that exists, like I just said. But the other side of the coin, I believe, is keeping it really real and coaching from a place of pragmatism, uh, clear understanding, not being avoidant, not being kind of escapist, not using new age ideas to just kind of, glance away from the dark truths and the hard realities of being human being in general, right? Quite frankly, but also specifically at this time, because we're in obviously a radically weird transition period, right? So I want to just kind of pop on the camera here, like I said, talk about it with you. And really, one of the premises I want to share with you here is that no matter how you slice it, and this is really where my attention has been and where my head is at, doesn't matter what you're looking at. If you're looking at what's going on geopolitically right now and what's going on with politics in the world, if you're looking at what's going on socially in most of the Western countries in the world, in terms of like, polarity between men and women and social division and racism and things like this, right? If you look at what's going on in terms of tech, and where we're at with AI right now, and where we're at with AGI coming down the pike soon, and ASI coming down the pike soon, and robots becoming, starting to become a thing that will be commonplace, and the kind of massive replacement of labor force that's about to happen in our society. Whether you're looking at the potential kind of, whether it's real or not, all the interesting stuff going on with the drones and UFO disclosure stuff, and whether that's fake and psyop and stuff to just kind of like gaslight the public, or whether that's a real genuine thing that's happening. There's something there going on. If we look at like economically, like all the forecasts from different economic points of views, what they're saying is coming down the pike here. Any way you slice it, all of these are big, difficult, challenging, transformative things that are coming down the pike from different vectors of life, right? But all of these are happening simultaneously, and they're all really about to escalate in one form or another, probably this year in 2025. And my guess is at least for the next 10 years, if not longer, maybe 20 years, right? We are looking at some really weird, challenging times. I would offer you that if we're going to like look back at, small interventions in social change or society that have massively impacted things down the line, as that impact is kind of rippled outward. Um, there have been so many, innovations along the way that we're still just kind of wrapping our heads around in terms of how that's impacted the modern world. And all of those were more spaced out and smaller necessarily than all the things we're about to like deal with all at once, right? So what I'm saying here, and I don't mean to scare you, okay, but what I'm saying here is the next 10 years, if we're keeping it real, are going to be super weird. Maybe the hardest, weirdest 10 years ever in history, or at very least, certainly the hardest, weirdest 10 years probably in any of our lifetimes, and certainly in a long time, right? Debatably, there have been stranger, bigger events that have happened, but let's just say we're going to go through a lot of radical change in any one of the things I just mentioned, whether it's the geopolitics or the social change or the tech changes or the economics, however you want to slice that. Any one of these things is probably going to have would have a massive ripple effect for decades to come, okay? But we're getting all of this, right? And so my head as a coach and as someone who cares about the healing and the awakening of humanity is very much around, okay, how do we help as many people as possible get through this next 10 years as wonderfully as possible, to thrive, to stay sane, to stay centered, to stay healthy and at peace. Because the truth is, and I know there are a lot of you that are struggling out there, we're struggling with how it's been. It's going to get weirder. So we've got to get better at adapting and working with this, right? So I want to share with you some of my thoughts on how we do this, on how do we kind of basically stay sane while the world loses its shit, because it's gonna, okay? That's my prediction, my New Year's prediction, real cheerful, I know. But let's be honest here, like the world is going to get really weird, okay? That doesn't mean that that has to rock you to the core or disrupt you or leave you depressed or despondent or disconnected or lost or failing or suffering along the way. Okay, you can absolutely thrive while the world goes weird. Okay, and I would submit to you, if you feel called or drawn in this way, certainly my compassionate nature draws me this way. For any of us who are stable enough, it's probably more important than ever that we remain stable and grounded and healed and spiritually connected so that we can be that presence of clarity and grounding and connection for people as other people get spun out in all kinds of different ways. So hopefully that inspires you a little bit to lean into this work, not only for your own well-being, but so that you can really be kind of one of the pillars of the temple holding the whole thing up while other people get spun out too. Okay? So with that being said, I want to share with you what I think is going to make the difference here. Okay. And this is all really practical. I mean, if you'd like, and maybe I will, because I don't have feedback while I'm recording this with you, maybe I'll add my thoughts on the role of psychedelics in this whole thing. But, the spoiler alert here is my suggestions are actually very basic and very practical. And I think that psychedelics are not a necessary ingredient to stay sane over the next 10 years. They may help. They might also kind of like complicate things too, because it's going to be a weird ride. Uh, so I'll speak to that a little bit more later, but let me just start by sharing three basic things that I think you need to have down. You need to understand and be able to apply in your own life and get good at, that are going to make all the difference for you and for those around you. So let's start with those. Okay, so the first thing that I think everyone needs, okay, and this is kind of universally true, this is the core skill in your life that makes everything else work, okay, is your ability to regulate your nervous system and to regulate your emotions in particular, okay? I know I sound like a broken record. If you've been watching this channel, if you've been following my content, you know I speak about this all the time, but there's a reason I speak about this a lot, and that's that this to me really is the foundation. This to me really is the center of the bullseye, especially for most therapeutic and healing and personal development work. What we're after is the feeling of comfort and peace and well-being and safety and calm and groundedness and aliveness that comes from being regulated. Okay, so the first thing I would encourage you to pursue is learning how to regulate your own nervous system as a skill that you're going to want to rely on and pull from whenever you need it, over and over and over, as the waves get bigger and rockier in our world around us. Okay, so when you're able to regulate yourself and maintain a state of being regulated, you're able to be more adaptive to whatever's going on around you. You're able to stay centered. You're able to think more clearly. You're able to make better decisions. You're able not to overreact. You're also able to be more present for others. You're more attuned to others because you are more attuned to yourself, because your bandwidth isn't all clogged up with panic signals and anxiety and depression and overwhelm. And that allows you to be like free and open and really your full agent, your full agentic self, for lack of a better term here. So the first thing that I think all of us need, and again, this is a massive blind spot in society. This is a thing that sounds like a niche term, like some weird esoteric therapy thing, but frankly, it's what good parents should have, you know, instilled in all of their kids. It's what society should instill in all the kids as they're growing up, going through school and, developing relationships and friendships and what have you. We should grow up with a sense of connectedness, with a sense of wholeness, with a sense of feeling connected to our own body, our own mind, our own emotions, our own personal experience, to have that reflected back to us, to sense that we are connected with others, and to generally be well regulated most of the time. Okay, no one's going to be regulated all the time, but to be well regulated most of the time. So that is first and foremost, from my point of view, and you can learn it from me. You can learn it from the course that I've made about this and like the deep dive that I've created around this, or you can learn it. There's all kinds of other, free stuff on YouTube about this. I frankly don't feel like it's that important that you learn from me so much as that you learn this, okay? If you haven't taken me seriously on this, please take me seriously on this. This is the thing. This is the thing all of us need. This is also the social blind spot, right? Learn how to regulate yourself, regulate your nervous system. Every client I show this to, they're like, holy moly, mind blown. That's what I wanted. That's what I needed. I didn't have the words for it. I didn't even understand what I was looking for, but that's it, right? Pursue that, please. You're going to need it over the next 10 years. Okay. So, and obviously, I guess, shameless self-promotion here. I have a course about this. It's on pre-sale. It's kind of expensive, but it's a lot of content and it's a lifetime membership and you get free support calls around that. It's a really good course of cutting edge material on self-regulation. So I'm not here to blow that up necessarily, but check out my links in the course or in the video description down below. Go check out the course. There's a free section to it. You can sign up for free, and join the paid one if you'd like. Strongly recommend it. There's a reason I've made it. But even if you can't afford it, just go learn about self-regulation in any way that you possibly can. Okay. So that's the first thing we're going to need. Okay. Now, the reason that that's first is, again, that's the foundational skill upon which other things are built. You can't do these other things that are also very basic if you're dysregulated. And other ways to think of dysregulated are holding chronic stress in your mind and body, seeing things through a lens of fear and anxiety and disconnection and competition and all this kind of stuff, right? If you're operating in that way and you're stressed out and stirred up all the time, it's really hard to do these other things, okay? But the other things I want you to start to think about here is cultivating connection with yourself, with life, and with others, okay? So this goes hand in hand with the self-regulation, right? So what regulates us in nature, the way we're built as human beings, is social connection in specific, connection with other human beings, but also connection with ourselves, connection with nature and our environment, connection with spirituality and the spiritual aspect of life, connection as a general felt experience, right? This isn't a cognitive thing or necessarily purely an emotional thing. This is a nervous system embodied felt experience thing. Connection regulates us. Okay, connection is what heals trauma, like point blank, period. At the foundation of trauma healing is connection. That's what undoes trauma. So this is what makes us feel right. This is also what makes us most adaptive to stressful, changing environments and, difficult circumstances throughout history. Human beings, when they are connected with each other, can endure a lot, okay? When you have a high degree of connection, we are much more robust and resilient and adaptive, okay? Conversely, if I'm going to be brutally honest here, I know, if you're this far in the video, you probably listen to what I have to say with some interest, right? But obviously for a lot of people, they have no reason to necessarily just give me their trust, right? I'm just this random guy on the internet. But I truly think the more I explore this, the more healing work I do, the more I help other people, the more it becomes clear. I truly think that the mental health crisis, and I said as much multiple times, hinges around and is built around the experience of disconnect. And I think when you see that, when you really just look, it's blatantly obvious. The reason we have so many people that are so mentally unhappy and unhealthy right now, anxious, stressed out, depressed, dysregulated, angsty, lost, confused, etc. The reason that's happening is because people are experiencing extreme amounts of disconnection from each other. Okay, we have the internet, but we are not using it to connect or to build a sense of connection, largely, right? So over these next 10 years, we're really going to need to start to build connection for ourselves, for our own well-being, but also for each other so we can adapt and so that we can, coherently navigate this weird time we're going to go through. Okay. Also, so that's the second thing. Okay. First, emotional regulation. Second, okay, is building connection, right? And I mean that in the most abstract ways of, connecting to your own brain and body in the moment, or connecting to your breath, or connecting to prayer or whatever. But I also mean that in the sense of interpersonally, getting comfortable building friendships and chatting people up and bonding and making allies and this kind of a thing. And this really leads into the third thing, again, which is also super basic, which is, I think it's really going to be clutch over these next 10 years to know how to resolve conflict and build allies and friendships. Okay. Again, the more isolated and disconnected we are, the more prone we are to mental illness, the more prone we are to trauma and PTSD responses, generally the more overwhelmed we're going to be as things get challenging. Okay. The more we are able to build networks of, you know, people that we may not be tight with, but at least we can work with. They're allies, they're friends, they're people that we can trust enough, they're acquaintances, they are community. right? The more we can build that, the better off we're going to be. Okay, I would encourage you to build that online. I would encourage you to build that in your real life, in your local area. I would encourage you to build that with chosen family and people you resonate with, communities you're already resonating with. I would encourage you to build that with people you don't resonate with, right? Your random people you see in your neighborhood or what have you, okay? This is going to come in super handy as well. Okay, so the three things that I think are going to make the difference over anything else, right? Even over global enlightenment and everyone spiritually waking up, or even over AI fixing all our problems or any of that, right? I think what's going to make any of this work is your ability to regulate your own emotions and come back to center, your ability to build more connection in life in general. And then in specific inside of that, your ability to kind of build allies, networks, resolve conflict with people, right? Learn how to smooth things over and smooth things out and not necessarily just escalate polarity and conflict and judgment and shaming, because obviously that culture online isn't leading our society in a direction that works, that's functional, that's healthy, that's happy, that's cohesive, it doesn't work. Just simple as that, right? That strategy doesn't work, right? At scale especially, but even, on the micro in your own life, if you're running around being a polarizing, intense figure for people to navigate and burning bridges and making enemies, again, it doesn't work. So, I know this is a heavy video and this is probably not what you're expecting from me or whatnot, but this is genuinely what I think we all need, right? So let's just see where it goes. But again, if we look at what's going on in 2025, we look at what's been going on at the end of 2024, I think all these will come in really handy. So anyways, I'm going to be, making more videos like this, and sharing more content, giving more content. I'm growing my TikTok. I'm growing my IG. Like I said, I'm still going to be posting here on YouTube. Again, the course is banger. It's like so much good material in there and it's growing. So if you want to learn how to regulate yourself and you can afford it, go check that out. Um, Otherwise, stay along for the ride here. I'm going to do my best to continue to offer lots of value and help support this process, this period in time, because I think it's going to be a wild ride. Anyways, that's what's on my heart today. That's what's on my mind. Hopefully you get some value out of this. If so, do me a favor and help the comment and like and do all the things. Help the algorithm know that this channel doesn't suck, that it's worth promoting, that's worth sharing with others. Maybe share it with a friend if there's someone who you think would resonate with this message. Help me grow this so that I can really help serve more people. Okay, much love to you. I hope you're doing well out there. And I look forward to sharing more with you in 2025. Okay, take care.